Hey, folks, welcome in.
I can see you. Couldn't hear you.
Yeah, well, that's technology for you, Scott. Scott, Cam, welcome in. Week 4 of the Midstate 48. Driven by Miracle Auto Group. Guys, welcome. How are you?
Doing
Doing
good. How
well.
are you?
All right, we're rocking and rolling finally. After some weather issues last week, hopefully we don't see a lot of it this week, but we can talk about that in a little bit. Unfortunately, no Tom Duggan this week. He has family members under the weather, so he's taking care of them, and we certainly wish them the best. We will, however, move forward into week number 4. Several good games on the schedule this week, including our Spotlight Series game at Ravenwood between the Raptors and Oakland. I've got a conversation with Will Hester in the next segment. We will pick that game as our Spotlight game and Reggie's pick as well this week. So stay tuned for that. Gentlemen, let's go back to week 3 for just a minute and just kind of give me your thoughts on what you saw last week and what stood out to you, if you would. Scott, why don't you start us off?
Wet. It was. We saw a lot of delays. You always have to default to safety, and it was good that so many games did follow the rules and go into safety mode with the Lightning. It was putting on quite a show. A lot of games didn't get over until right before midnight. Some of them rolled right over into Saturday. One even rolled into Sunday afternoon. So, but again, it was good that we had that taken care of. Game I was at was Friendship Christian DCA, and what I saw out of Friendship Christian was a team that is a very mature team, a very tough team. They get after you offensively. They have a lot of weapons. They've got speed to burn, and that was the one thing that I really took away from this week's game was just the difference between you look at DCA and a team that is in a rebuilding mode. Just so what you see is really what youth does to you in a lot of respects, especially with small schools.
Yeah, it seems like these Friendship Christian kids are kind of more in the mold of some of the teams that we are used to seeing from that program the last couple of years have not necessarily been up to Commander standards. And with this team, they're certainly on a mission. They want to prove themselves to a lot of people. And after 3 weeks, could very well be considered the favorite to win Division II Class Single A this season. Cam, you got to monitor a lot of the games Friday night. What stood out to you?
Yeah, it was a great week to be in the house on Friday night and not be out in the rain and the weather. What stood out to me is, Friendship with a really good, improving, exciting win. Win that gets people's eyes on them and eyes open, knowing that they are a true contender here in Division II 1A. The teams that really stood out to me, I'll start with Westmoreland on Thursday night. I picked Watertown by 3 touchdowns, not based solely on the fact that I didn't know if Westmoreland could score. In that second half, Westmoreland's offensive line came out and they controlled the game. And it was that simple. Watertown struggled on offense. They have to find something on offense other than just running left and running right. They have to open it up to get defenses back, especially with a defense like Westmoreland. Really impressed with the Eagles. But the biggest win of the week, in my opinion, the Big Red finally got over that hump. They went to Chattanooga and knocked off the 3-time Division II 3A state champs in McCallie. The Big Red are who we thought they were, and they're on a roll early in 2022.
Yeah, those guys in the NBA should be very proud of that win, going on the road to beat a very good McCallie team and get some sort of revenge from the 2 losses they suffered last season. But listen, that could be a championship game preview right there. And if it's as good as the first one was, look out. That could be a really fun one in Chattanooga come December. I was over at Davidson Academy on Friday, and my first trip over there to cover a game. I've been there before and kind of got to see things, but seeing a game atmosphere at Davidson Academy is really neat. That the Grove down there where the players come up for the Bear Walk as they make their way to the field before game time was really fun, having tailgaters and party lights and stuff like that. Really nice atmosphere over at Davidson Academy, and certainly enjoyed the atmosphere. Home team took it on the chin, though, as FRA really roughed them up 35-7. Ty Clark with a big night again, and we'll mention his name again shortly in our Player of the Week finalist. Also, Thursday night, Macon County gets a big win at DeKalb County, or big region win for them. They're 3-0 right now, and hopefully getting closer to the number 2 seed for their sake, because you want to be on that number 2 line if you can help it, and maybe get away for Upperman for a round or so.
Yeah, that was huge. That was a huge victory for Macon County.
Yeah, quarterback Briz Trapp going out in that game for DeKalb, and I've heard he's done for the season. If that is the case, the Coach Trapp definitely has his work cut out for him the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's just a tough injury for Briz Trapp. Very talented young man over there in Smithville, and his loss is detrimental to their offense and their hopes for a deep run. It's a tough loss for DeKalb County in a number of respects. So hopefully they can find a way forward without him, but that'll be tough sledding for DeKalb County going forward here on out. Another game that really kind of stood out, besides FRA, Pope Prep over Father Ryan.
Yep.
The Bishop's Cup ran late because of weather. Kenny Minch, he had a big night and had 5 touchdown passes. They won 49-35. That was the highest scoring game in that series history. And both teams found their offensive footing, and we'll see Pope Prep on Thursday night. Scott, you and I will be over at Independence for that one when they travel to face the Eagles. So looking forward to see that offense in person.
Yeah, and guys, if you don't follow us on social media, follow us on social media, because just follow us for the Kenny Minchie throws, really, more than anything else. I mean, he can put the ball in a bucket from 40 yards out. I mean, one of the, I said on last week's show, I believe he's the best pure passer in the state.
Pitt fans are gonna love him when he gets up there next year. But for right now, Pope's loving what he's throwing around to a lot of receivers, and Father Ryan didn't last week. So Pope Prep now 3-0, and we'll see them on Thursday night. Scott, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, you talk about Independence. One team that really stood out to me in a loss was Centennial.
Yep. How
tough they played Independence. That team is for real, and that team is on the upswing. They're not going to be an easy out, and come as the weeks progress, barring anything unfortunate happening, that's going to be a team that's in the mix there in Williamson County.
Yeah. Another one to mention, Blackman over Riverdale.
Yes.
Backyard brawl. They got that win, and a key one for them is that sets them up for the number 2 spot in that region. And they'll get their shot at Oakland soon enough to see if maybe they can dethrone the champs. But definitely a big win for Chandler Tigers bunch over in Blackman.
Yeah, we have to mention the play. It's only fair.
Yeah.
We got to share the love for the big man, okay?
Yeah.
If you've ever seen the movie Varsity Blues, they ran the old-fashioned hook and ladder to the left tackle, and Blackman's left tackle scored what actually wound up being the game-winning touchdown in that one.
And let me just say, I've seen the clip, and he was moving too. It wasn't a lumbering tackle like Billy Bob.
No, he had speed. It wouldn't surprise me to see Chandler Tiger put him in the backfield.
Well, they call it blazing fast. They call it blazing fast for a reason, and I guess their tackles are also that way. So,
hey, where's number 72? I mean, ain't that what Refrigerator Perry wore?
He did.
Yep.
Sure did. Mm-hmm. Well, let's take care of a little bit of business first and get to our Player of the Week, presented by Miracle Auto Group. And it was a pretty good vote for a while. Let's look at the finalists first off. Gabe Borders from Macon County. First off, let's see. He had 2 total touchdowns. He had 3 total touchdowns. No, 2.
Mm-hmm.
He had rushing and receiving touchdown, 205 total yards. Also a key interception in that win over DeKalb County. Ty Clark III, 4 touchdown runs, 270 yards and 16 carries. This is his 3rd consecutive appearance as a finalist on this list. Jack Kleiner from Lebanon, 7 tackles for a loss, 6 sacks in Lebanon's win over Cookeville last week. Devin Crenshaw from Springfield, he's been on this list several times the last couple of years. A lot of people saying that he needs to get some looks from colleges, and he keeps getting on this list. He should be. He had 5 total touchdowns, 3 rushing, 2 passing in that win over Northeast. 8 of 13, 154 yards through the air and 2 touchdowns, 13 carries, 144 yards, and 3 touchdowns for Devin Crenshaw. Travarius Flood from Greenbrier scored 4 touchdowns 4 different ways. He had a 91-yard pick six, a 91-yard punt return, an 85-yard kickoff return, and a touchdown reception in their big win at Glencliff. Hard to beat that kind of production. And finding the end zone. Kenny Minchie from Pope Prep mentioned him, 11 for 14, 297, 5 touchdown passes as they beat Father Ryan by 14. Middle Tennessee Christian's Eli Wilson, 231 yards on the ground and 5 touchdowns on just 13 carries in the Cougars' 52-37 win at Clarksville Academy. Voting was fairly close for a while, but the fans did take Jack Kleiner for Lebanon to be the representative this week. Scott, you went with Ty Clark III.
I did. 257 yards rushing against that Davidson Academy defense. That's tough stuff. And I thought that he was deserving this week.
Cam, you also went with Ty Clark III.
I did. I just want to say, we see you, Ty. This is week 3 on the finalist board. 700 yards roughly on the season already, 8 touchdowns through 3 games, going on the road and getting a big win over Davidson Academy. Ty Clark is a force to be reckoned with here in his junior season, and he may wind up in that Mr. Football category if he keeps putting up over 200 yards a game.
He is certainly headed in that direction. He's off to a blistering start, nearly 700 yards in 3 games and 8 touchdowns for Ty Clark III. Tom picked Jack Kleiner. And if we don't love drama enough around here, we have a 2-2 vote, and guess who gets to break the tie again? And I saw Ty Clark III in person, and I'm very impressed with what he's been able to do so far. He's been on this list every week, and he may continue to be on this list every week if we don't pick him here. But 6 sacks is hard to ignore, and sometimes we just got to give a little bit of love to the defense. So I went with Jack Kleiner.
Well deserving.
Yep.
Well deserving. 12 tackles, 7 for loss, 6 sacks. He was on my list, on my short list. Glad to see him get it.
Yep. And indeed, it's Jack Kleiner from Lebanon that is our Miracle Auto Group Player of the Week for week number 3. We've got some hardware that'll be swinging by Lebanon to hand out to that young man. A well-deserved honor for the Blue Devils, who are rolling right now at 3-0 after this week. Speaking of Miracle Auto Group, we have got to hear from our wonderful sponsors over there real quick. So let's do that now.
Are you ready? Are you ready for a miracle?
Wait! With current inventory shortages, how do you find a deal? Pre-order and build it your way, then get 5% off MSRP, but only when you pre-order now. Save on a new 2022 Ram 1500 DT. Labor Day sales event at Miracle Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Gallatin. Build it your way to get 5% off MSRP.
Are you ready for a miracle?
Dude, I got to get me one of those Ram trucks. that was pretty.
Yep. Yeah, it's very nice. Definitely one.
We have plenty of them on the lot right now.
Yeah. Ever the salesman, Cam. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
I got the chance to hop over to Ravenwood and chat with Will Hester for a few minutes today, and here is what he had to say about it. Here with Ravenwood head coach Will Hester, getting ready for a big game against Oakland on Friday. Coach, a lot of excitement about this week, and we talked about in the preseason about getting Oakland on the schedule and what it meant for the program and really for football in this area. Now that this week is here, what's the feeling like around the locker room?
It's super exciting. Obviously battling some weather issues, being in and out. Just finished up a little bit of a lightning delay here, so getting out a little later than we wanted to. But no, just excited. I mean, for these kids to have an opportunity to play Oakland, I think they're on their 33-game win streak, something like that now. exciting opportunity for them to get a chance to play a team like that, and a team that we have hopes and dreams of maybe seeing a second time if that works out. But you can definitely get to measure yourself and see where you stand with the best in the state.
Speaking of weather, you guys had to go through it last week too with Franklin and having to play Saturday afternoon. How quick of an adjustment did it have to take to get ready for this week after that?
Not bad at all. I mean, Saturday, Friday night. I mean, I guess the worst was staying over there till midnight before we finally decided to push it to Saturday. But, the kids responded well. It was an adverse situation, and that kind of tested where we were at from a maturity standpoint. I thought the kids handled it well. We played a lot better when we came back out Saturday than we did in the first half. I think the original delay starting the game late affected us more than the delay to the next day. So proud of the way we finished. Wasn't proud of the way we started, but proud of the way we finished.
The way you guys have kind of responded since the loss to NBA in week one, what's been the biggest change in the way you all have played in the last 2 weeks?
Well, I mean, I think NBA's proven they're one of the top teams in the state of Tennessee. And, obviously we played a very good team that night, and they got the best of us. Proud of the way we fought that night. But in the end, we've improved every week. We had a bunch of new starters at a lot of positions, and they're growing up on the field and gaining that experience. And hopefully we'll continue to improve as the season goes along.
The atmosphere surrounding you guys have had several high-profile games here in the stadium. This is just going to add to it. Around the school, what's it been like this week, knowing that Oakland's coming?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's excited, whether it's, trying to make it the Titans game of the week with everybody voting and doing that kind of stuff, or being the TV game. I know 104.5's coming out too. So, I mean, everybody's going to be here. But these are the kind of games you want to play in. If you're a high school kid, why would you want to play in a game that doesn't have these kinds of implications, this kind of hype? I mean, everybody's fired up and ready to go.
As far as health goes, is everybody good, and anybody that may or may not play?
Yeah, knock on wood, we'll not be missing anybody that we need to be out there.
As far as at 4 weeks in, how good is that to have that
Absolutely.
situation?
It hasn't been that way. We've got some guys back in the past couple of weeks. We missed some in week 2, but we're all back healthy now.
What would a win mean for this program over Oakland if it was to happen?
I mean, in the end, it's a non-region win, but it would prove that we are one of the top teams in the state, and we are a team to be reckoned with. So.
All right, Coach, appreciate it. We'll see you Friday night.
Thanks, Chris.
A lot of excitement around that program right now with as big a game as they're going to have, and they're going to need everybody healthy because Oakland has been rolling along these first 3 weeks. They haven't had any issues, so it'll be a fun one to be out there to see. And I know these two teams, they've wanted to play each other for a while, and that's going to actually happen. So Ravenwood, last week they had to play the second half on Saturday, and they played a lot better in the second half, as Coach Hester alluded to. Chris Parson threw for 160 yards and a touchdown, added 101 yards and 2 more scores on the ground. He's starting to really kind of find his rhythm after that NBA loss. Guys, let's talk about this for a minute. What are you looking for out of this game from Oakland and Ravenwood, Scott?
Well, what I'm looking for out of this game is just how good Ravenwood's defense is. I think it's going to be a challenge for that. I think we know that Oakland has weapons. They have Cade Hewitt behind center. They've got 2 outstanding backs, quick wide receivers. And the thing is that they have depth. They have depth at all those positions. So, how does Ravenwood slow down the Oakland offensive juggernaut that it is? That to me is going to be the question. It can be done. It can be done. They have the linebackers to do it. They've got Tanner Shuck, Drake Stallenwork back there at linebacker, so it can be done. But it's going to be really, really hard to stop a team that is as well-rounded as the Patriots.
Cam, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about that week 1 game for Ravenwood against NBA, they really struggled against the power run with Jonathan Moore going for like $180 in that game, 3 touchdowns, I believe. That favors Oakland. But now one thing about Oakland is, they struggled a couple weeks ago against Madison Ridgeland Academy, which is spread, throw it around, mobile quarterback, same thing as Ravenwood. So both defenses have to come to play Friday night. This one spells shootout, guys.
I tend to agree with that. Cam. Yeah, I think you're right on that. As we look at the AP rankings after week 3, Oakland ranked number 1, and they've been there the entire time. Ravenwood actually dropped to 5th, even though they beat Franklin 31-6. Collierville hopped up 2 spots to number 4. Not a lot of surprises for me in the top 10. Cane Ridge up to number 6. Blackman hops into the top 10 after went over Riverdale, who dropped out. Riverdale, Independence, and Smyrna all just on the outside looking into the top 10. Guys, any surprises to you in the 6A ranking so far?
Well, I'm surprised at where Ravenwood is ranked. I think that it surprised me that they're that high, even though their one loss has been to NBA. Just the way that they played, and that's probably why they dropped. Was that I wonder if it had to do with Collierville or the first half they had against Franklin, where it was only 10-6. Into that, and it wasn't very impressive until they came back on the second day.
Yeah, I think looking at this, I mean, most people in 6A would say that Oakland and Maryville are a clear 1-2. Ravenwood is often considered the 3 though, and them being at 5 with a loss over one of the better teams in the state in NBA, they have an argument to move as high as 3 in my opinion. Lebanon also, they've beat down on everybody that they played. So you can't argue with them being at the 3 spot. The one team that I think is kind of getting overlooked a little bit here is Smyrna. They've got some big wins. Big game coming up here in a few weeks against Cane Ridge, I believe. But that's a team, in my opinion, that's getting overlooked in Rutherford County. That happens to not be in the same region as Oakland and Riverdale and Blackman and Rockville. They're a team to keep an eye on.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, Smyrna's been pretty darn good through 3 weeks. Lebanon, I have no issue with a 3. And if I've said it in the preseason, I think there is as dangerous a team in 6A as anybody in the state this year as far as a threat to Oakland. And they would get the first shot at Oakland in the playoffs before Maryville would. So definitely Lebanon, the force to be reckoned with. Oakland still rolling along, and until somebody beats them, they're going to stay at number 1. But that Ravenwood Oakland game Friday is going to be a fun one to watch, and we'll pick this one here in the next segment. Who you got? Let's go through the rest of these rankings real quick. Let's start at 5A. Page is number 1. Springfield got a first place vote. They're sitting at number 3. Nolensville number 6, and a couple of local teams outside the top 10. Green Hill also getting votes there. Station Camp dropped out after being 10th last week with that loss to White County. Anything jump out at you, Kieran?
Nolans will be in 6. I think they should be a little bit higher than that, but it'll play itself out.
Yeah, I'm pretty good with this ranking. I think, as Cam said, it will play itself out. Page being number 1, to be the man, you got to beat the man, and Page has so far shown that they haven't had a whole lot of drop off. So it'll be really interesting though to see, when you come back to this in 2-3 weeks,
another team that's not in our coverage area, but Powell will be back on this list. Quarterback Jordan Potts went down in their week 1 game. I believe he returned last week in a big win for them. They'll be back on this list here in a couple weeks.
Yep. Yeah, it shouldn't take long for them to climb back up that list. They were number 1 when he went down, so certainly one to keep an eye on in East Tennessee as well. A little bit more Middle Tennessee flavor to this list than usual in 5A, which is a good thing for some of these teams, but all of them on the western half of the bracket. So if you're looking for somebody to possibly get to the Blue Cross Bowl, there's some names over here. Page is going to try to get back there this year. Springfield, Nolensville, Green Hill, can't forget about them, and some others that may want to throw their hat in the ring. 4A, it's all about East Tennessee. Greenville, Henderson County, Haywood County out west. Upperman 4th, Hardin County 5th, Red Bank 6th. The only area team in the top 10 is Procone, and they should actually be 2-1. That record's not correct. Or 1-2, sorry. Procone is 9th despite that 1-2 record. Aiken County just outside the top 10, and everybody else is nowhere to be found in 4A. So,
yeah, I think this is another case of this is week 3. I expect Pearl Cone by the end of this to be up that list significantly. Interesting to see where Macon County will land when after about three to four more games, because depending on how the circumstances go, they could wind up on it.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and shoot my shot. By the end of the season, the top 5 will be Greenville, Anderson County, Upperman, Pearl Cone, and Milan. That'll be the top 5 by the end of the season. Not going to give a particular order, but those 5 are the teams that can bring home a gold ball, in my opinion.
All right. Well, I like it. Kind of a little extra who you got there for the rankings there in 4A. Over in 3A, of course, Alcoa is number 1. East Nashville, number 2 by a decent margin over Covington. Fairview just outside getting some votes, but other than that, as far as local teams are concerned, there aren't any. And it's been about Alcoa and East Nashville for the first 3 weeks so far.
Yeah, I think Smith County will find a way on this list by the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't know how high they go, but they'll be on this list.
I was surprised that we didn't even see that they didn't even get a vote onto the list. That to me is what surprises me about this list. The order of where the teams are now, that doesn't surprise me. But the fact that Smith County didn't get a vote kind of surprises me.
Yeah, I think had they beaten DeKalb County, that might be a different story. But them being 2-1, probably it's going to delay their arrival to this poll for just a week or so. But yeah, I'm like you guys. I think they'll be there at the end of the year. They're growing up pretty fast, and they're becoming a team that a lot of teams don't want to face because of that line. Over in 2A, the one we've been talking about quite a bit the first 3 weeks so far, Harpeth is the highest of the local teams. They're number 6 after their 3-0 start, jumping 4 spots from 10th into that number 6 spot. And the others receiving votes. Westmoreland just missed by a couple of votes, and they're sitting outside the top 10. East Robertson and Watertown also getting some votes as well. Watertown was 9th before the loss to Westmoreland last week. So Harpeth is a team we've not really talked about. Their schedule hasn't exactly been difficult, to say the least, but they've done the job, and they're 3-0. They'll get East Robertson next week, and that's kind of the game that I'm looking at for how good is Harpeth. We'll find out.
Best start since 2009 for the Indians there at Harpeth. Westmoreland's got to be on this list, guys. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Westmoreland's got to be on the list, and they may be top 5. Just based on the defense alone.
Based upon what I saw last week, I would not argue with you.
And there's several teams. When you look on this list on the right side, the others receiving votes. I mean, you can make a case definitely for Westmoreland. You can make a case for Westview. You can make a case for Meigs County. You can make a case for East Robertson. I mean, there's several teams, but that's part of being week 3. We'll find more things out here in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
This is probably the class that I'm the most interested to see work itself out, because there are so many teams that we're talking about either in the top 10 or close to it that are in consideration. So,
and it's wide open.
Yes, absolutely. That's the one that my eyes are wide open on.
The 2 teams that have really separated themselves score-wise. I'll give you an East team, and I'll give you a West team. Tyner and Union City. Both of those teams have been laying it to everybody that they've played.
Yep.
So those are 2 teams to watch here in 2A.
You know what surprises me about this list? Who's missing?
Who's that?
Charlesville County.
Well, I mean, given their start, it's not.
I'm just no. That's not
You're
what I mean.
You're out there.
Yeah,
you're in. You're out.
Yeah,
they're there, and that to me, when you talk about being wide open, them not being on the list is telling about this whole list.
That's definitely the sticking point there. I mean, they've just struggled out of the gate. They're 0-3 for the first time since 1956. Yeah. If you can believe it, it's been that long. And
Macon County doesn't get easier this week.
No, it does not.
And the schedule does not favor Charleston County to get a win over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. Some tough times down on the creek bank, but if you know that community, they're going to try to find a way, one way or another, to get it back in the right direction. It's just been a tough start for them. Let's go to 1A and look at no local teams in the top 10. Gordonsville just outside, but not really close to the top 10. And they're really the only ones. I mean, we don't have a ton of 1A teams in this area. It's mainly, West and East Tennessee that has these teams. So,
yeah, Gordonsville will work its way back in the top 10. Tough start to the season. They're a little banged up. Play some tough competition. But they'll be on this list.
Yeah, Steven Jackson got his first win as a head coach this past week over Oliver Springs. So, congratulations to him, and that'll be really important for them going forward. Get that one out of the way, and then the schedule starts to become more favorable for them in the second half of the season. Division 2, Friendship Christian, number 1. Middle Tennessee Christian, number 4. Grace Christian is 5th. And we have a top 5 game between Grace and Friendship Christian this week that we'll pick in the next segment. Clarksville Academy also receiving votes there. Going to speed us up a little bit to go to Double A. CPA is number 3. Lipscomb Academy, number 1. No real surprise. But Boyd Buchanan, even though they're 4th, got a first-place vote this week. So,
really good defense there for the Bucks. Really good defense.
Yeah. The Gary Rankin effect is taking hold quickly for the Bucks. Quickly.
Absolutely.
Probably quicker than most people thought. And Boyd Buchanan 4th, Knoxville West.
Yeah, one team, real quick, Chris. FRA. FRA is going to, I believe, another win or two, they could be on this list in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree after watching them Friday. They're on their way under Justin Geisinger. That team is really showing some promise. It does get difficult for them as they're going to have both CPA and Lipscomb on the road. Those two are going to be tough tests for them, but they'll be able to prove themselves in those games.
Yep.
AAA, NBA number 1, no surprise there. The surprise to me is that somebody still voted McCallie number 1 despite the fact they lost to NBA.
Yeah, that's a little bit odd.
I mean, they've won it 3 times in a row. I'm okay with them getting a first place vote. The one thing I don't really understand is McCallie not being 2.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it was a 3-point game.
I mean, I guess I don't know. Some people vote a different way. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. But Answorth is sitting outside the top 5, but getting votes as well. Pope Prep is 5th. Brentwood Academy 4th. The top 5, no surprise here. I think that's probably the right top 5. Yeah, McCallie, I think, still is a clear-cut number 2 over Baylor. But I guess Baylor not losing so far is why McCallie is sitting at 3.
September 30th for Pope Prep. They host NBA.
Yeah. And then NBA and Brentwood Academy also play each other as they do every year. So a lot of fun games coming up in Division 2 AAA over the next month or so. Before we start picking games for this week, it is time to hear from Innovate Medical. It's my favorite time of the week. Let's pick some winners. That's who you got. I don't know what to say, guys, honestly. It's a mixed bag of results from week 3. Scott, you want the smoke? What smoke? I'm coming for you.
Look, I'm just glad that I'm not in last.
Sure. Yeah. Poor Reggie. Can't get out of the basement.
Yeah. That's, trust me, for too long I'll be looking up at Reggie, I'm sure. But for now I'm going to soak in it.
Let's get into last week's recap real quick. I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so in Westmoreland and Macon County.
Yes, you did. I'll give credit where credit's due.
And that's the extent of my boasting for this week. So, Blackman, Riverdale, we were split there. Reggie tried to get DC over Friendship Christian. That didn't work for him. 4 out of 6 of us had Pope Prep over Father Ryan. On page 2, I owe FRA an apology because they basically were my lone loss in this top 10. So, and then making over to Cab, Reggie had tried to sneak Summit through against Brentwood, and that didn't work either. On to the full season standings. Like I said, FRA, I owe an apology to. Station Camp owes me an apology. for losing to White County like they did. That was my only other loss last week. But we'll try to do better. Overall, still pretty close after 3 weeks. So let's get into our board for this week. We start on Thursday night with CPA at NBA. And not really a surprise here as everybody's on NBA. This was a really good game. CPA won this one last year, but NBA's been the juggernaut that everybody kind of thought they might be. And we're all on the big red this one.
Yeah, there's not a team out there I don't know if is balanced as NBA is right now. Defensively, offensively, they've got the weapons. I tell you who I was really taken with when I saw him play is Browning Trainer, the linebacker for NBA. He seems to be able to get from side to side. Got a lot of speed, but he will put a hat on you. And, of course, their defense up front with Eric George and Gabe Fisher, they clog up the middle. So, I think their defense is going to be the tell here.
Yeah, Gabe Fisher's quote from a couple weeks ago on the Scoreboard Show just sticks in my mind. We're going to run through your face, is what he says. This could be a letdown game for NBA. They finally got over the Macaulay hump. I don't believe so. They're too good in the line, too good on the defense side of the ball. I like NBA.
Yeah, I think CPA will keep this close for a while, but NBA is just a complete team right now, so I'm going with Big Red as well. Another Thursday nighter, Pope Prep at Independence. Scott, you and I will both be there for that one. No surprise here. We're all on the Knights for this one. The way Kenny Minchie's throwing the ball right now, you pretty much hit it on the head. He's throwing it about as well as anybody in the state. So the way the Knights are rolling on offense, I don't know that Independence can match them enough. That's gonna be what it takes because Father Ryan tried and couldn't do it. So
honestly, this game could last as long as their Independence's last game, and without the weather.
Without the weather, really.
It very well could. Both teams like to throw the ball quite a bit. But I believe if Independence is going to hang in this game and possibly win it, I believe Trey Hartwell is the key for them. Shorten the game for them. It's going to be tough to do, especially if you get down multiple scores early. But that's the key for Independence to stick around in this game.
I agree with that. And then watching the end of that game where they beat Centennial, Hartwell had a 76-yarder in the fourth quarter. That was the game-winning score. He didn't have a lot of running room early on in that game and in the second half, but he did break a big one when it was time to go. So they're going to have to use him and use him effectively if they're going to slow down Pope Prep's offense because that's their best shot, I think.
Yeah, and I think that one thing's overlooked is Pope Prep's defense. They're doing a good job of getting off the field on third downs. Opponents only have a 20% success rate on third down. So I think that they've got a good chance there.
Creekwood at Pearl Cone. This one's interesting because the Red Hawks have had two very close losses the last couple of weeks. They've only lost by one score in each of those. Pearl Cone also 1-2. This is a region game and crucial for seeding for both teams. We're all on Pearl Cone, but I mean, if they're not careful, Creekwood could sneak up on them. But I don't think that the Firebirds are going to be letting anybody sneak up on them too much.
I think at 1-2. Coach Brunetti's not going to allow anybody to sneak up on them at this point.
One game that was just moved to Thursday. This one originally scheduled for Friday. Father Ryan at Cane Ridge. And Reggie is taking Father Ryan in this one to hopefully get back on track after losing to Pope Prep, but the rest of us have the Ravens.
And Reggie could be onto something. I mean, Father Ryan does have a stout defense. It wasn't that long ago they had held Brentwood to 1 yard rushing. So I mean, Father Ryan it's not out of the realm of possibility. They have a good game here defensively and hold Cane Ridge up. I don't think so. I think Cane Ridge just personally has way too many weapons that they can utilize. So if Reggie Goodlow doesn't beat you, then Mose Phillips will.
I like the leadership of this Cane Ridge team. I think that's one of the key factors here for them.
Yep. Gallatin at Station Camp, battle for the Mayor's Cup over there in Gallatin. And we're kind of split on it. Cam, you and I are on Gallatin. The rest have Station Camp. Gallatin has won more in this rivalry than Station Camp has. I think there's enough history there, and the way that they've played so far, Gallatin seems to be on a mission. Station Camp has some wounds they're going to be looking after White County got done with them last week.
Yeah, the reason I picked Gallatin in this game, they struggled a little bit last week on a Thursday game with West Creek, but any time you win, that's a win. Station Camp is coming off giving up 300 yards to a running back in Malik Dow. Guess what Gallatin does? They run the football. It's pure and simple. That's why I picked Gallatin to win this game.
And remember, Gallatin had more than 400 yards of rushing offense against Mount Juliet in week 1. I mean, that's a recipe for kind of the same thing as Station Camp put up with last week. So,
yeah, but Station Camp has a quarterback in Luke Dickens who's leading the team in rushing since he's taken over, and he has 3 straight 100-yard games. What gets me is with this game is Gallatin can't afford to turn the ball over, and they turn the ball over way too much. When I looked at this game, I thought it was going to be down to turnovers. They had problem with turnovers, and they had to be bailed out by the defense against West Creek. I think that Station Camp has a chance if they don't turn the ball over and they stay with their run game to force Gallatin into mistakes.
On to page 2 in that top 5 battle we talked about in Division 2 Single A, Grace Christian and Friendship Christian. The Commanders are number 1 ranked this week, and we've all picked the number 1 ranked Commanders to win over Grace Christian. Both teams unbeaten coming into this game. Only one's going to leave that way.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about how this team looked like the previous, state championship teams that Coach McNeil had there at Friendship Christian. It's one word for me. Some people, say it's cocky or arrogant or whatever. It's swagger. And this team has it. They have confidence. They have swagger. I think they make another statement Friday night.
Defensively, they're going to have to show up because Jackson Hyatt, Grace's quarterback, he's 30 for 43, 426 and 4 TDs in 3 games, no picks. He doesn't make mistakes with the ball. So Friendship is going to have to play a really good, solid defensive game to keep Grace Christian on board. That being said, Friendship has a lot of tools. And I think that, between Tyson Walcott and Garrett Weekly and Brock Montgomery, there's just a little bit too much there for Grace Christian, I think, to be able to handle this week.
Smith County at Westmoreland. Now, this is one of those non-region games that could really kind of factor in. We talk about Westmoreland's region. If it comes down to tiebreakers, this game could actually prove important in those if it comes down to total wins. So it's one the Eagles aren't going to want to leave without. And Tom's on Westmoreland, but the rest of us are on the Owls.
Yeah, but quite frankly, I'm doing Westmoreland a favor here, picking Smith County, because if I pick them, it doesn't work out.
It worked out.
I just think Smith County's size and depth speaks volumes for them.
The toughest game of the week to pick for me after eating that crow from last week. But the Owls' size, their physicality, Westmoreland is physical as well, but their linemen are a little bit on the undersized side of things. They rely on quickness, knowing where the ball's going. That first step is what's important for Westmoreland as far as up front on the defensive side of the ball. I think possibly some weather conditions Friday night could help slow down the quickness on that first step. I like Smith County. If it is a wet field like some expect it to be, I think their size is really going to wear a toll on the Eagles.
Now, this was almost a coin flip game for me just because of the way Westmoreland's defense is played. And
toughest game to pick this week for me.
Easily for sure. White House of Portland, the big Sumner County rivalry, a historic one at that. Reggie has the Blue Devils, and the rest of us are taking Portland. I just think Portland has a few too many weapons for White House in this one, especially Jalen Perro.
Well, guys, Portland went over to what they call the rock pile over in Westmoreland and lost 14-13. And ever since then, they've not been too happy. And I don't think that stops this week.
I've been impressed with White House lately. They switched up their lineup in week 2 and moved Michael Albin from quarterback to running back and went with Tanner Hayes at quarterback. Since then, their offense has been really firing on all cylinders. That being said, Portland is big up front. They're fast in the defensive backfield. I think that they do a good job of pinning White House. Running backs, they can get to the edge and they can score.
Watertown at DeKalb County. We've talked about both these teams reeling after last week's losses. This is a get-right – well, maybe not necessarily a get-right game, but it's a get-above-water game for both these teams. We're split on this one too. I'm with Tom and Cabin taking DeKalb County. Scott, you and Reggie have Watertown.
Yeah, had to go with the cat on this one. This one was a hard one for me to pick. This may have been the hardest one for me to pick. And the main reason I went with Watertown is really it's really tough when you lose your starting quarterback and you have a young guy in there against a defense as stout as Watertown's defense is. I think that Watertown's going to try to get after him. Force him into mistakes, and I look for KK West to have a bounce back game. DeKalb County gives up the big play. They gave it up to Macon County. I think they have run the risk of giving a couple up to West.
Yeah, losing your starting quarterback is never easy, but that's not all DeKalb County was. They have a really good running back there. He's put up, I believe, 100 yards against Smith County, in a big win for them on the road. I think Coach Trapp changed his game plan a little bit for this week, and I think that DeKalb runs the ball more than they throw it, and I like the Tigers to beat the Purple Tigers.
DeKalb County was running the ball somewhat effectively against Macon County last week, but when they had to throw it with a backup quarterback, it didn't work out. I do expect them to be very run-heavy this week and try to protect their young backup as much as they can. And I think that it will be enough against a Watertown team that, quite frankly, I still have questions about. On to our Spotlight Series game of the week. As we've talked about in the previous segment, Oakland and Ravenwood, a top 5 matchup in 6A. And all four of us, other than Reggie, have taken Oakland. Just think Oakland may have a little bit too much, but I am very curious to see how Ravenwood comes out in this game, especially early. If they can start fast and keep this thing close for a while, provide some intrigue, then it might be a pretty fun night for them.
Yeah, I think it stays close. I fully expect a shootout, but it's my favorite saying, and I say it every time we talk about Oakland. Ric Flair, baby. To be the man, you got to beat the man, and ain't nobody beat him yet.
Woo!
I just think that too much C.J. Puckett, too much T.T. Hill.
Yep, those are two big names for Oakland. That'll carry them all a lot for this one. But who does Reggie have this week? Let's find out.
Oh, he's feeling bloody tonight. Oh, he's already made his decision.
And it is.
And it is
Ravenwood.
The Ravenwood Raptors.
Reggie going with the Raptors in this one.
But I will say, if you saw in the video, he went right to Oakland afterwards, so he's not too sure about his pick.
Yeah, there may have to be a review on this one.
That's because we took it away from him. If you notice, there are 3 mice over on the other side that we had got. That was the plan for his picks this week, and he totally ignored them.
Were they blind?
No. Well, maybe.
Make of that what you will. I don't care. It's a bad attempt at a joke. Let's go back over these picks real quick. We're all on Friendship Christian over Grace Christian. Tom's got Westmoreland over Smith County. The rest of us have the Owls. Reggie's going for broke with White House over Portland. We're all on Panthers. Scott and Reggie have Watertown over DeKalb County. The rest of us have the Tigers over the Purple Tigers. Reggie is going with Ravenwood over Oakland. The rest of us are on the top-ranked Patriots. The other games, NBA in a clean sweep over CPA, same for Pope Prep over Independence, and Pearl Cone over Creekwood. Reggie's going with Father Ryan over Cane Ridge. The rest of us are on the Ravens, and Cam and I have Gallatin over Station Camp. The rest of them are taking the Bison, and that is that for who you got this week. Guys, let's one more note from all of y'all, if you will, before we get out of here.
Cam, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's another week where weather conditions may play a factor in the games. Some good competition games. You know, last week was the start of region. There is some region games this week, but there's more non-region games than region games this week. So teams get a chance to find out more about themselves in games that they matter, but they don't matter as far as making the playoffs, essentially. But yeah, I'm super excited to see what teams come out and do.
Scott?
Behind me. Up that one. Up that way. This thing. Hey guys, we're at 300. We're 351 subscribers away from our goal of 1,000. We thank you so much, those who have joined, who've got other people to join, who've liked, subscribed. Let's keep it going. We do this. We do this for you. We do it for the kids. We're happy and we love doing it. Spread the word. And make sure you comment. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you see. Talk to us because this is interactive for you guys as well.
Yeah, and I'll add real quick. I'll add it every show. We are the only place where you get free content on high school football in Middle Tennessee. The only place. Let us know what we can do, what you want to see, because it's free.
I got nothing else. We've done all the damage we can do for a week. Enjoy Thursday and Friday night, everybody, and stay dry too, because weather will be still playing a role apparently from some of the forecasts we've been seeing. Other than that, that's it for us. For Cameron Reed, for Scott Burton, I'm Chris Brooks. Thank you for watching the Midstate 48 powered by Miracle Auto Group, and we will talk to you on the Scoreboard Show on Saturday morning, hopefully, if weather doesn't screw everything up again.
Miss you, Tom.